Right, let's start to look forward to week 3 in the NFL because there's a couple of really key matchups that we absolutely love on paper and for very, very different reasons, I think, because one involves two of the hottest teams in the NFL at the right moment, going head-to-head with each other and looks like an absolute barnstormer. The one before that, less so. The Dallas Cowboys heading to the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens losing what had to be, for me, despite the result being very tight, the upset of the week to the Las Vegas Raiders at home in M&T Bank Stadium against the Cowboys team who, let's be honest, they put a whooping on a terrible Browns team in week 1, fine. But really were shown up by the Saints this week and now have huge question marks to answer. And suddenly, this game takes on what already looked like a game between two playoff teams, a lot of significance, Phoebe.
Oh, hugely. I mean, look, the Cowboys just lost to a team where you don't even have a running quarterback, first off. Now you're going to come in and you're going to play the Ravens, who have Lamar Jackson. They've got Derrick Henry. They can run all over you. And for the Cowboys, 1, they can't run the ball themselves, and 2, they can't stop the run. So now you're going against a team who literally is going to, their strengths are your weaknesses. And I am very concerned for this Cowboys matchup.
My biggest disappointment thus far of the NFL season is the Baltimore Ravens. And and Lamar Jackson. I love everything about Lamar Jackson from an athletic standpoint, right? Like he is your modern quarterback. I think of Randall Cunningham, right? And he was so far ahead of the curve. The good things about Michael Vick. The next stage of that is Lamar Jackson. Like the pinnacle of that is Lamar Jackson. He's improved as a passer. They've improved that offense. He's still an incredible runner. And he's 0-2, and he's not finishing, and he's having the same problems again. So there's no better way to fix it than against the Dallas Cowboys. And what a story that will be in the NFL. Like, we want to be 100% positive, but let's be 100% negative for a second. What a story that will be if the Dallas Cowboys, if you finally pay Dak, you've got the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. Most people, including me, don't think he's worth it, as we said on this show last week. And they start 1-2, and they are an absolute mess. And will, at some point, we maybe go there, but what in the world do you start doing with Mike McCarthy? Like, I would have fired Mike McCarthy 2 years ago. I'd have fired him after last season. The Dallas Cowboys have to win this game because they cannot afford to start 1-2. And they probably should be 1-2 after this game.
They are a prime example. There are some teams in the NFL who manage to exist in this sphere. And funnily enough, the Saints who beat them this week somehow have managed to push this cap hell down the lane and just get away with it for years. They are one of these examples of a top-heavy NFL team who it's really coming home to roost. Yeah. I think the Eagles are a fascinating example of this as well, but what they did very intelligently is that Jalen Hurts contract is worth $9 million against the cap last year, 13. Like in 2 years' time, it's still only going to be $31 million against the cap, at which point Dak Prescott is going to be paid twice of that and all of it hitting the cap. It's a horrendous contract. They are, like the Cowboys seem to have been the whole time under Jerry Jones, we're going to pay our own guys, we're going to pay our stars, CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott, Micah Parsons has his coming as well.
Yeah.
They're going to be paying 80+% of the cap to 3 guys. And what you're now seeing is that team who could have been a playoff team, could have been a Super Bowl team for the last 3 or 4 years. That 53 is getting weaker and weaker, and the coaching is getting weaker and weaker with it as well. I don't know. I think the Ravens are going to take them apart this weekend.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, the Cowboys situation is not sustainable. I'm kind of, not to bring it back to Brady, but when Brady went to Tampa Bay, he took a pay cut because he understood that he needed other great players around him. And the problem the Cowboys have always had at being America's team is that the stars, the lights shine on them, and it's a big show, and it's Jerry World. It's always about the kind of what it looks like, but there's never been the true substance. They never make it through to the playoffs.
Substance, that's a great word. Like, they always lack substance.
Yeah.
It's all show, it's glamour, it's lights. Jerry Jones seems to he lacks substance, and I don't know when do you figure that out? When you get the right head coach, when you bring in the guy. I mean, who do they hire? Like, let's have a fun hypothetical. Let's say McCarthy is pushed out. Who comes in and fixes that organization? One name comes to mind for me, and he's all over TV right now, and he's known as kind of being a hard-nosed coach.
There is absolutely zero chance that Bill Belichick takes the Dallas Cowboys job because, as we saw this past offseason, when the Atlanta Falcons had real interest in Bill Belichick, it was too much control. They already had a GM in place who they loved. In Terry Fontenot, they knew what they wanted, and he wanted everything. You think Jerry Jones, because he's, and maybe there's this bit of Jerry Jones, maybe as an octogenarian pushing into his 90s who knows he's not got long left in this world, wants more than anything else is one more ring. Maybe he goes, do you know what? Put the ego aside, give Belichick the job. I just can't see it at all. I think Sean Payton is potentially a shout if the Bo Nix Denver thing doesn't happen.
But is Sean
year.
Payton, is he still a good NFL coach? I question that more than ever. He's made so many, it's an interesting name, and you have the connection, and that was his dream job forever. He's made so many mistakes already in Denver. Bo Nix looks horrible. Didn't work out with Russell Wilson. I haven't gotten back from Sean Payton when he had that comment that the last Nathaniel Hackett, that he had screwed up Russell Wilson and it had all going so bad. And Sean Payton, to me, looks horrible since those comments.
Yeah, I mean, I think you always should never be putting out stuff like that, especially when you're trying to get a job in the NFL as a coach. But I think going back to your point with Belichick, that would never work either because Jerry World is on show all the time.
Yeah.
And you're talking about a coach who is completely opposite, everything in-house, don't show anything. I think that could never work. But Sean Payton is always an interesting one. I've never seen him really with a rookie quarterback before. So I don't know if, the success I've seen him have is with more veteran quarterbacks. So I think this is all new learning curve for him as well. The Russell Wilson thing was his own kind of lifeline because he just didn't even want him in the first place and made that very clear.
You're seeing him with a rookie quarterback, Payton, this season, and the Bo Nix comments after the game when he was asked about the interception, he just went, I threw it to the wrong team. I mean, we're like honesty in press conferences. Give it to me all day long. I absolutely love it. We'll get more into the Ravens, I'm sure, but I believe that they will turn around an 0-2 season. I really do think that they can still be a playoff team in the new format. Let's turn our attention to the other game we love this week, which very much on the other end of the scale. The Minnesota Vikings and that Brian Flores defense absolutely put a hurting on the 49ers this week. We're going to have an exclusive interview with Josh Metellus this week, the safety who picked off Brock Purdy. He's a fascinating character, looks brilliant in that defense right now. And they're going up against a hot Houston Texans team who are kind of doing what everyone said they wanted to see them do before the season. Like, I was thinking the Texans may be a little bit of a drop-off from last year, keeping that good feeling going. It's very difficult to be that great a defense year on year, but they have looked sensational through 2 weeks. And suddenly, this 6 p.m. game on Sunday looks like the game of the week.
It looks incredible. I'm so excited for this one. I mean, kind of just going to the Vikings first, watching them, first off, who would have thought Sam Darnold has had a rebirth the way that he has?
It's the beauty of the NFL. It really is.
Unbelievable. That throw to Justin Jefferson from the 3-yard line, the 97-yard touch, that was fantastic. But their defense, and I think that's what's so key here, the way that Brian Flores has created that defense, he's got all the exact puzzle pieces that he needs to be able to show anything. And that's probably going to be This is probably going to be the toughest challenge for C.J. Stroud because of what they can dial up. They are formation-based. They are having literal checks upon checks upon checks. So you don't even know what you're going to get when you're seeing what they're giving you because they change so many different things on you that it's going to keep C.J. Stroud guessing. And I'm interested to see what that kind of football IQ really looks like when you're going against a team like the Vikings.
Yeah, Brock Purdy, after your favorite team in the world, didn't really fully show up against Minnesota. He's walking off the field and he's praising Brian Flores' defense for being so complex. I thought that was really cool inside football where you're seeing a Mr. Relevant basically saying, man, you guys were too good today. I couldn't figure you out. There was
this knock against them last season because the Vikings gave the 49ers a rough time last season. But it was when Debo was out, it was when Trent Williams was out. So it was all this they picked on the holes. Trent Williams had his worst game as a 49er this past weekend. And that's not because he's a bad football player. That's because that Vikings defense is sensational.
Yeah, and so to Phoebe's point, we've never in the NFL in recent history seen a quarterback come in and just figure it out, right? Because even Patrick Mahomes had to sit for the first year and watch Alex Smith, and he had Andy Reid, and he basically took over a playoff team. They made the playoffs year before. C.J. Stroud has gotten it all right. His efficiency is remarkable. This is the next test, right? Now, it hasn't happened in the AFC Championship, in the Super Bowl. This is the next test. You're 100% right, Phoebe. How does he respond to this really complex Brian Flores defense? And for all the issues that Brian Flores had in Miami, there's no doubt that he is a brilliant mind at running NFL defenses. I think that Texans find their answer with their running game. And it's a big question mark for this team with Joe Mixon and his health, because that was a key addition for them. And they didn't have that running game against the Chicago Bears. It was more Stroud. So they have to have that balance. That was huge coming into this season. I still, though, I have not seen the Texans not be able to figure it out. And this will be a big, big test for DeMeco Ryans, for C.J. Stroud, for the balance of their offense. And I didn't think we'd be saying that about Minnesota, but that's what finding a Derek Carr-like quarterback, Sam Darnold through 2 games has been the perfect answer. We don't even talk about J.J. McCarthy anymore. Sam Darnold looks like a Pro Bowl quarterback.
Genuinely, the 2 best quarterbacks in the league this week might have been Sam Darnold and Derek Carr. What world are we living in after week 2 of the NFL? Absolutely madness.